Welcome to the second season of Uncovered. Let's everybody clap. Come on, clap. I'm so excited because I have one of my favorite human beings on the planet as the season premiere for season 2. This is Eichel Davis, who is basically an athletic director.
No.
He's basically an athletic director.
Thank God, not yet.
Tell them what your fancy title is, and then I will tell them what I translate that to in my words.
My fancy title is Associate Athletic Director of Creative Media at South Carolina Athletics.
So in my words, that means just the GOAT and the greatest creative mind that I know.
We're getting there.
No, truly, Eichel is one of the most talented people that I know in my whole entire life. And so I'm super excited to talk to him about his journey and what he does. So as in your position here at South Carolina, what is your day-to-day look like? What are you responsible for?
So basically, I oversee all creative efforts outside football. So graphics, photos, videos, motion graphics, signage. My team takes care of everything from the way tickets are designed up until the way video boards look to social media, to practice. The mic does pretty much everything. It's kind of what we oversee. My day-to-day is like legitimately not the same any day. Most set days are probably Mondays because it's legitimately all meetings. But besides that, it really is a new day every day, which is nice because I never wanted to be in a job where I was doing the same thing every day. And this is one of those things where I get to do that, but also I get to be in sports, which is so exciting. And it also like lets you touch just so many different people. And the harmony of sports is really why I like working in sports.
Tell me how you got your start in creative.
Well, I did this in high school. I was on newspaper in high school. And then I started to do photos and video in high school, but it was more than photo. And then when I got to Mizzou, I started running our Instagram account my freshman year, and Instagram was kind of still newish in 2014-ish. It wasn't new, but...
Because we're old.
Okay. It wasn't new, but it wasn't something that like brands were on. It really was a personal app. Like your friends were on Instagram, your favorite team wasn't really on it. So I kind of got started there, and then I started doing videos that were really bad. And over the course of my 4 years at Mizzou, I realized that I got pretty good at it, and I knew I could tell stories better than anybody else. And I kind of knew that early because I have always been storytelling. I've been storytelling since I was before I could even walk, I feel like. So it was important to me that it was something that I really cared about, and then it was new, so it really wasn't a career path as much as it is now. Like now, I mean, we're recruiting kids out of high school to come be creatives. Where when I was in college, which wasn't even that long ago, legitimately, like I was running the creative video department at Missouri, like an SEC school, who was winning at the time, and it was just me and Caroline, me and Caroline Hall were doing pretty much everything, and then we had some talented people like Diego and Colin that kind of helped lead that continuance of that. But it really was like really small, and now it feels like if you don't have 6 video people, your team's small. Like full-time salaried people, your team isn't big enough, and it's just been crazy to see the growth, and it still feels like we're not even close to where we will be. Like I think sometimes we're in a Power 5 bubble. Sorry, Power 4 bubble. R.I.P. Pac-12.
R.I.P. Pac-12. Sorry.
So it sometimes feels like everyone has these things, but I mean, you go like one rung under, and some of these teams are like still where we were at Mizzou. Like that's why I tell kids that you get into it, it's like you probably are in the perfect time because there are still so many jobs that need to be filled, and there's new jobs opening every year. Like, I mean, Mizzou still doesn't even have dedicated women's basketball producers, which is a thing that is common now. So it's like you think about Mizzou SEC school isn't where everyone else is. But think about how many schools that are in the group of 5 or even below that are like still need this stuff but don't have it. So our industry has grown a lot in the last like 6-7 years, but I think we're still like on this like rocket that I don't even know when we'll get to where we are really like we've really covered the video stuff, and now it's grown a lot, but it also is like still like very entry level. Like this is the first 10 years of the team existing. So
How important is it for schools to be ahead of the curve on this, especially when it comes to recruiting, NIL?
Super important, and it really pains me to say this because I've really learned this quickly. But Clemson is like their success in football is directly tied to their success as a media team, and they were one of the first to do it. I think you look at kind of when they started, they were so ahead of the curve. And now teams have caught up, and they're not the ultra dog that they once were. Partially thanks to what Justin's done here, and has really built South Carolina football into, like, in my opinion, the best creative brand in football. So it really was. You saw it with them, and you've seen it with schools like Missouri. You've seen it with schools like Oregon and schools like USC. So you've seen it. You've seen it with some of these schools about, like, you're pouring into perception because recruiting is all perception. Like, the reality doesn't really matter. It's all about what do recruits perceive as your brand in your school. So, I tell my people all the time, it's like, we're here to tell the best parts of our reality. Like, it's not lying. It's particularly putting up the best parts of reality to make our school look the best, make our teams and our coaches and our brand and our culture look the best. And that's the fun part, because it's hard to do that when you're not a big dog. You're not going to the college football playoff every year. You're not going to the national championship every year. So how do you get there? Well, it's the perception of your school, and how do you make people see, like, oh, this is cool. When I was at Cincinnati, Coach Miller used to always tell me, like, hey, I want Cincinnati basketball to be cool again. Like, that was his phrase, like, cool again.
Yeah.
And I used to think it was, like, so, like, it seemed so, like, basic, but that's what it was. And Cincinnati basketball is freaking cool again. and a lot of that is to do it west, but a lot of it is to do with the stuff that we did. Me and Spencer and Griffin and Connor and kind of that crew that really shored this brand that was kind of dormant into this, like, cool brand again.
Yeah.
And then Jordan helps, obviously. So.
Right. That's always going to help a brand. So basically, the key to any team at your school competing for a national championship is hiring Eichel, because everywhere that Eichel has gone and been, TCU competed in the college football playoff when you were there, or right after?
That was after I left, so I can't claim that one.
But you touched that program, and then after you left, and then you went to Cincinnati. Cincinnati was in the playoff.
CFP.
And then obviously here at South Carolina, you have a team that is competing for national championships in the women's basketball team all the time. Shout out to Dawn Staley.
That's been going on.
That's been going on.
It will be going on for the next decade after I'm gone.
What is it like working with Dawn Staley? How close do you get to work with her in that program?
I don't think that, we don't work together a ton. Jalyn is really the person that does a lot of stuff with our women's basketball team, and the stuff that he puts out is crazy. And I think our storytelling is the strongest in women's basketball when it comes to that stuff, because the way he's able to find a through point from first video to last video, and you can bring that through is really important. I think I think about our love campaign last year that Jalyn really brought life into, which was the script for the first video and the script for the last video are pretty similar. And then, Jalyn created the docuseries to kind of cover that. And all of that kind of, that's what you call, like, universal storytelling, where it's like, this is a whole campaign. Something that's really, really special. So I think, I love Coach Staley. Every interaction I've had with her has been extremely positive. I mean, she's one of the nicest people that I've ever interacted with. And I think, what's cool is that some coaches, especially when you're that big, it's like there's public coach and private coach, and they're the same person here, and that's awesome. And I think you can't understate the things that she's done here and the program that she's built here. And I think it is going to be really cool to see this continue. And this team this year is super exciting, and it's a different team, but also the same team. And I think everyone's really excited to see what we do this year, and it's all thanks to Coach Staley.
Where do you start your creative process? How do you go from idea nugget to execution?
It's different every time. Like I usually do music first, but like a lot of this, like the scripted stuff that we do, it's always script first, because I know that I have to, if I don't have a script first, then the visuals won't match. So like scripts, like if you're gonna do a big project, you gotta write the script. And for script writing, like, it usually starts with like one line, like, and that is really how things roll. You know, and I think back to some of my more famous scripts. They all started with a line, and you know, I think, you know, I've gotten really good at script writing, and it's been something that has really become kind of a calling card of what my brand is. And I'm always happy to help write scripts, and I think that was something that I put emphasis on when I got here, and something that we've really done a great job of kind of continuing that narrative, story-driven storytelling that, you know, really is what sets us apart.
How do you just decide what line is going to be your base?
I couldn't tell you.
just your brain.
Just sheer talent. I don't know. It really is. You know, I always think about like what's the messaging of this piece. You know, we did the homecoming video recently here, and it was my first homecoming, so I was like really new to like taking pieces of things, and you know, and it really was a special video because, you know, our athletic director's retiring after being here for like over 20 years, so like it was cool to get him to narrate it. So in my head, he was always the one that was going to narrate it. So I wrote a script that was tailored towards him, and that really helped me kind of like, okay, like what would he say? Like how would this work? If you were a fan and, you know, this person's been part of your life for decades, is now, you know, finally, you know, taking a break, what would you want him to say to you? And I felt like that was kind of the mindset I was in for that one, you know. And then so some of the scripts, like the Big 12 scripts, so we wrote like 5 Big 12 scripts when I was at Cincinnati. You know, but some of it it's stuff that, you know, it's nice is that it's become more of a collaborative process, especially at Cincinnati where I had Spencer, and like, you know, one of the most famous lines was in one of our videos was that the clock struck midnight, but Cincinnati's Cinderella story continued, and that was a Spencer line. Like that was like the rest of the script was really something that I wrote, but Spencer added that, and I felt like that was really like the line, and you know, without collaboration like that doesn't happen. So it's really cool to be able to continue to plus my skills, and then, you know, being able to invite other people into the process has been able to really you know, drive what we consider to be good or great script writing now.
How do you build the perfect creative team? What do you look for?
I mean, I don't even really look, like the talent's important, and it is, but like I can find people to make videos. I can find people that can take good photos. I can find people that can make good graphics. Like, come on. So it really is like the culture of your team is the most important, because if you all don't like each other, if you all don't love each other, we can't get to where we need to be. And I think the reason I've taken so much inspiration from coaches that I've worked with is that that's what they do. They build teams that, especially now in the age of the transfer portal, you're building a team within like 6 months, and the chemistry and the culture of your team is on the ballot literally every time you build that team. You really are able to you know, every time I hire someone, every time I get a chance to be a part of a hiring process, I think, is this person going to be successful here, and are they going to fit our culture here? Because so some people are great people, but they don't work here, or they don't work where we're at. So knowing what kind of people work in your system or work in the school that you're at or the environment that you're at is huge.
We're both from St. Louis, the greatest city on the planet. And when we were going off to college is when Mike Brown was killed in...
The week of.
Yeah, like really very soon before.
13th?
Yeah, so it was very soon before we left for school that Mike Brown was killed, and Ferguson became this national news story. And I remember you writing this really nicely worded piece about Ferguson and how society just intertwines in all different walks of life.
Yeah.
Why is it important to know as a creative that social justice, social activism, and all of that has to merge with sport? It can't be kept separate.
Well, because it's not separate anything else. Like, it's not separate in our healthcare or in our like mayor's offices or in our churches. It's like it doesn't just get the sports like, all right, well, I don't want to be here. It's like that's just not how life works. So, you know, people who think that sports is an escape, it's a semi-escape in the moment of the game. But as soon as the game ends, life's still there. And I think it's not fair to people that look like us, or people who might be of a different religion or might be from a different country. It's not fair to us to just be like, well, your plight doesn't matter right now. It's like, that's just not fair.
Yeah.
So I've been super vocally active, and Ferguson changed a lot for me because I went to a school that really was almost a fantasy in the way that it was presented, because all my high school friends are white. I don't have really very many black high school friends, because I went to a high school, I had 6 black kids in my class, and those key people are like legitimately still my best friends. But that wasn't the reality of everywhere else. Like, Westminster wasn't the reality, and like as I got older, I realized that Westminster also wasn't what I thought Westminster was. And there's no slight on Westminster. It's just, again, racism doesn't stop at the front door.
Yeah.
And if you are a place with people, then you are a place with these issues. And I think Westminster has done a pretty good job of dealing with those things recently, because I know things got a little tested there at some point. And I think it's good for us to talk about it, especially because I think a lot of our issues, unfortunately, do stem from evangelism in the church. So Westminster is a Christian high school. It was always bound to kind of come to head there. Being from St. Louis, there's a lot of things that you deal with, and that I've lived in Texas, I lived in South Carolina, I lived in Ohio, and St. Louis is the most racist place I've ever lived in my life. And I think it will always be that, because it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I love St. Louis, and I go there as much as I can, and I rep the Lou as much as I possibly can. But
yeah.
I'm not gonna.
It's not without its issues.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't believe in unconditional love, because it's just not something that exists. Like, love has conditions, and a condition of my love of St. Louis is for me to consistently acknowledge that it has issues. So yeah, it's. I feel like I've written about Ferguson like 25 times at this point. Like, at this point, it's like it was a 10-year anniversary this year. And I was like, I don't really have anything else to give this conversation. I've given, like, if you want to read about what I think about Ferguson, go read the 20 other things I've written in the past over the last decade, which is crazy. It's been a decade. Why
have you felt that it's been so important to you to speak out anytime this happened? Because it didn't stop at Ferguson, right? So we had Ferguson, we have had a plethora of things that you have used your voice.
I think I've always believed that the more power you have, the more your voice matters, the more you have the responsibility to speak up. And I think as I've gotten into this position and more positions, the way you speak probably changes. I'm not as harsh as I used to be, because I do like being employed. So I try to come from things from angles that can get the point across, but kind of cover it in more stuff that makes it more palatable. And I think, also for me, it's like, I also have to think about, it's like, okay, I lead a group of people, and it's like, I want them to understand where I'm coming from at all times. And also, like, the people that now I lead 32 interns. It's like, all right, well, they also need to kind of understand. And I feel like the way you change the world is by sharing your worldview. And I think I have a pretty nice following on social media, and I also lead, again, 40 or so people every day. That's a lot of worlds I can change if I just continue to express my beliefs and views and experiences. Because a lot of stuff is ignorance. Like, most people, if you've never experienced it, you don't believe it's real. And I think that's something that we can change, just through sharing our experiences and, being open about the things that suck. It's like, I love this country so much, but again, I don't believe in unconditional love. Yeah. So the conditions of me loving this country, there are conditions, and one of them is I don't want to get shot in the streets. So it seems pretty reasonable. Yeah. So those are things that I feel like, for us to be where we need to be, we gotta get out of this mindset of like, oh, I love America. It's like, yeah, but you can love it and also criticize it. And actually, that's true love, because if you love someone, if it's a person, but you consistently let them hurt themselves and not be the best version of themselves, then that's not really true love anyway.
Early in your career, you found some places and things that you maybe had applied for and decided against it because of not being able to be as vocal as you would have liked to be, or feeling like that might have been an obstacle? How do you decide the best fit for you when you're looking for a new position or when you're applying for somewhere like that?
Yeah, I think earlier in my career I cared more. Now I truly don't give a fuck. So it's really been one of those things. I think earlier in my career I cared a little bit more about like, okay, I'm where I am, I need to be, but now I'm just like, yeah. So it definitely changes. I think there are certain places that I don't know if I would live now that I probably would have lived first. Like if I was 21, I would live certain places. But now that I'm 28, it's like, do I want to live in Starkville, Mississippi? Probably not. And now I'm here, it's like I really don't see myself leaving South Carolina. I mean, I can count on two hands the amount of places that I would ever leave South Carolina for. Maybe one hand, and they're all in the SEC. So it's like, well, most of them are in the SEC. There's probably a couple like Big 12 schools in there, but I want to be rooted somewhere for a while because I feel like you can only make so much change if you were bouncing every year. Where here, I know I can have like deep rooted change in how we do things in South Carolina.
What do you think is setting you all apart as a creative department from the SEC, from the country?
We're going to tell stories better than anyone in the country. And that's probably as simple as I can put it. Like, I already think that we are one of the best storytelling schools in the country, but I am a super competitive person, and I want us to be a place where people are constantly fighting among themselves about who's second place. Yeah. Because they know that they aren't first. And I tell our interns that, I tell Justin that, I tell my people that. It's like I want to be the creative department that everyone's like, oh yeah, we are the number 2 creative department because we can't even touch what South Carolina's doing. We're not going to try to touch what South Carolina's doing because they're just better than everybody else. And that's a long process to get there because that's to go that from great to best is like the details of like the little things. It's not how many cool flash effects you can do. It's text design and it's coloring and storytelling and it's moving the needle. The small things are going to make us the best creative department in the country, bar none. But right now, I mean, we're in conversation. I mean, there's no question about that. But to be the undeniable best, it's the small things.
On Twitter, we see a lot like when a really good video goes out and people are like, pay these people, like you gotta pay your creatives, like da da da. But that's a real thing. Like, it's a real topic of discussion amongst creatives about them seeing their value, but maybe programs not seeing it as much. Yeah. What is the value of having the best creative department?
They'll never be able to pay us. They'll pay any creative the amount of money that they deserve. I think as you get into a administrative level, they probably get close. Yeah. But for like people that are actually doing the work, and it's invaluable. I mean, you're talking about you're raising so much money, whether it's subscriptions, whether it's ad revenue, whether it's butts and seats, whether it's donations. I mean, the value is there, and you can't quantify it because if you did, you'd be pissed off. Like, just don't do it to
there wouldn't be enough.
Yeah, there just wouldn't be enough. So like, don't do it to yourself. I do think, some departments have gotten away with paying people very little, and I don't think we're one of those departments. I think we're very competitively priced from a creative standpoint. Actually, I know we are, and I think that's what makes this place. Another thing that makes this place special is that we say all this, but we also are like consistently pushing the needle of how much our creatives are paid. And we probably have one of the highest total paid creative departments in the country. And that is completely due to the fact that this school values it and our administrators value it and our fan base values it. And, I think if Justin ever needed something, our fan base would find a way to get it for him. That's a cool place to be.
Yeah. If you could, because you do have people that come from high school to work with Eichel. That is a real thing that has happened. People are coming out of high school wanting to work under this man.
Yeah, sometimes. It's rare, but yeah.
It's happened. If you're talking to all the high schoolers in the country right now and saying if you want to be in a creative, you have to be blank or you have to do this.
Yeah, I think you just have to have a good attitude. Like it's all like about culture. Like I can teach you how to be a creative, but if you can tell stories, like really tell stories, then you're infinitely more valuable. Because the creative stuff we can teach you that, but it's the hardest thing to teach is storytelling. If you have a natural ability to tell stories, like I always knew I could tell stories. That's harder to teach. Where the creative stuff, I can get that done. But yeah, if you can tell stories, if you're a good person, if you care deeply about people and their stories, then you'll be fine.
What are some of your favorite pieces that you've worked on in your career?
That's hard. I'm about to go into a year. I made my first video in 2015 for a sports team, so I'm about to go into
And you still have famous ones at Mizzou.
Yeah, and those suck. I don't know why they're famous, because now I look back and I'm like, these are
I'm going to
horrible.
link these so y'all can see. They didn't suck. They're probably better than what most people can make right now.
But they're terrible.
But
I mean, the homecoming videos in Mizzou were famous. The stuff I did with baseball. The basketball video is probably, that one's still like up there. Like, I still watch that video. I'm like, damn, I did that. And that video is 7 years old now.
yeah.
And that video still like, it's like that was the one. The homecoming video that everyone likes is like, I don't know why people like that video, and people still watch that thing every year. I don't like why. But like the basketball video at Mizzou, and then the baseball stuff that we did at TCU, like the Magic series and the Revival, and that last year at TCU, I think is like collectively my best work. Like from the moment the season started to the end, I was on a freaking just warpath.
Tear.
And like that's good stuff. I mean, Cincinnati, the basketball hype videos we did, the Jordan releases, the fact that we did a freaking show and did 2 seasons of it, and then we did a men's basketball movie, like the long form content stuff we did at Cincinnati was just like off the charts, and I'm so proud of the work that the team and the interns did there. Everything we did for the Big 12. And then here, like the baseball video we made when we hired our new coach, and then this homecoming video we just did. But I know I'll have stuff here, as I get more into my tenure here that I really like. But yeah, there's always those pieces at every place that you go that you love. But yeah, I mean, I've made so many videos. It's kind of hard to narrow it down, like the ones I really like. So.
But now in your like administrative role, I know you're not editing as much.
Yeah, I'm only editing the big stuff. I think now what's cool is that I'm really into like the in-game stuff. Like I really want to make our video boards cool and impact the environment of our stadiums and arenas. So I feel like that's like the next frontier that we need to get here, because like the football show is like freaking insane.
Yeah.
So how do we bring that to our other sports?
What have you learned most about yourself now being the leader?
I was just always a good leader. I think like that's the hard part, is that, and I could wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm the worst leader in America. That's the thing about leadership, is that it's never, it ebbs and flows, just like anything else. If you think you're good one day, you think you're terrible the next day, and it's all emotion based. But yeah, I mean, I've not been a leader for a while, but like I've always been this way. I was class president in high school. I started our student government in high school. I did all that stuff in Mizzou. I was a leader I ran baseball creative at, like I've been doing this for so long, it doesn't even feel like it's work. It's just something that I do. I know my creative world is going to end fairly soon, but the leadership stuff it's like I'm way more interested in that stuff than I am the creative stuff anymore, because it's like I don't have much stuff to prove from a creative standpoint. Like, yeah. So
what is that next step that you want to go into after creative? What are we?
I know that my life is an admin. I know I want to be an athletic director. I am not rushing that process because there's a lot of stuff that needs to get figured out in college athletics right now that I don't want to be part of. So
y'all catch me after y'all get through with the weeds.
So I'll sort of in the back end. But it's cool. It's a cool time in college athletics. A lot of things are changing, but it's cool because now I can just watch and like see like how we navigate these things and learn, and not have to have my job in life. If these things go poorly. So I know that I'm going to be an athletic director. It's just a matter of when. But I'm also not like fully wishing away the creative stuff yet, because I know that like when it does like end, it's going to be a pretty hard end. So there's no point of like rushing through it, because I'm also 28 years old, and
you got time.
I like in this country especially, I have to work until I'm like 85 years old. So I might as well slow play.
Enjoy it.
If we're not gonna have any social security, you might as well enjoy the work.
Last thing, why is it important for you to be uncovered?
I don't know if it actually is important for me, but I think it is important for people that work in my industry, because I think, you know, I am just one of so many people that have built the creative world, and you know, I think showing people that this is a space that's important, and it's not just making cool videos. I mean, the administrative stuff and the work is huge. I mean, every recruit, every donor, all that stuff. I mean, we're making millions and billions of dollars for schools through the stuff that we're doing. We're helping with that process. And we're reaching donors and fans that we weren't reaching before social media existed. And part of that is stuff that people in my industry do. I also think that, you know, it's important for people, you know, from St. Louis to see where I'm at, or people who grew up in North City like I did to see where I'm at, or, you know, if there's any brown people out there to see where we are. And I think some people harp on that stuff to the point where it doesn't feel genuine. You know, I think people are like, oh, I want to be this. So it's yeah, but it doesn't feel real. You think you just want to be that pedestal, where for me it's just I just want to do my best and show people that it's possible, because I think I think it's hard for non-minorities to understand, especially, is that it's hard to believe something that you can't see. And when you can't see a black athletic director, or if you can't see a woman on ESPN, it's it's hard to believe it's possible. But if you can see it, it's possible, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm just a kid from the Lou. And, you know, it really is just, you know, everything else I do is just kind of, you know, paying homage to that, and, you know, excited to see where my career goes, but also just kind of taking it day by day, and, you know, yeah.
Well, you're a star. I'm obsessed with you. I will make sure that y'all have some links to his work. Please tell them your social media so they can follow you on all the things.
It's at Eichel G. Davis on everything. On everything. Yeah.
EICHEL. So y'all don't spell it wrong, because people be doing it.
Yeah, yes. Every day.
Well, thank you so much, friend.
No
I love
problem.
you. And thank y'all for tuning in to the first episode of the second season of Uncovered. Everybody clap.
Spurs up.
And yeah, I'm not gonna do that. But we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Peace. Go Cox.